Hello, I'm GueldaRedman, and this is the Elevating Women in Business podcast, where we talk to women entrepreneurs and business owners and learn their incredible and unique strategies to finding success. Hello, I'm GueldaRedman. I'm the founder of the BC Women's Business Network and your host on Elevating Women in Business. And today, my guest is Mistie Bogard. We have some fun facts, but first of all, she's with Ocean Breeze Realty Group, brokered by Real. She's a licensed realtor, and she defines herself as a realtor, cat mom, granola queen nerd. And here's some fun facts. Mistie was born in the Yukon. She lived off-grid with her family and became a seasoned hunter, trapper, and fisherman. That's pretty amazing. Mistie loves to dance, especially the two-step. She has all the power tools and has trained her husband on many of them. Her first job at 16 was slime scraper girl at the commercial fishing plant. And I'm assuming from that job, she has a weirdly extensive knowledge of biology and life cycle of the Alaskan king salmon. And she and her husband opened one of the first online accounting firms in Canada. So welcome, Mistie. I'm so glad that you were able to join. And so to start off with, I'd like you just to tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Mistie and what does she look?
I think I'm a bit of an enigma. I think that probably if somebody saw me, they would probably underestimate me pretty hugely because of just the things that you've described. And listening to it, I was like, oh my God, is that my life? And it is. My parents were total hippies. They took an agricultural lease on a piece of property about midway down the Yukon River between Dawson City and Whitehorse when I was a very small child, and I grew up there off grid. So my life was certainly not a typical little girl's life. We learned to hunt and shoot and mush dogs and drive skidoos and boats. And I can remember actually, funnily enough, thinking to myself after reading some little school book about somebody who had a two-car garage because they had two cars and that made them very posh. And I thought, wow, we have 3 skidoos and 2 dog teams and 4 boats. We must be really rich. Like I've done a lot of things in my life. And I'm incredibly grateful for the things that I've gotten to do. Various and sundry different jobs, experiences, and just a lot of different things that have led me to this point in my life. And I feel like now I get to capitalize on all that.
I see here as well, you worked in the public service for a while.
I did, yeah. In the mid 90s, I actually got let go from a really crappy job with some really crappy people. And it was really scary. My son was about 8 months old at the time. And I just remember being completely gobsmacked by what had happened to me. And I started putting out resumes and I got hired as a term. Actually very temporarily to cover a vacation in a government office with the Department of Indian Affairs and Northern Development. And it wasn't very long before I'd gotten a longer term and a longer term and a longer term, and finally was invited to be a permanent employee, which was amazing.
Wow. Now, at this point in your life, you are a licensed realtor. And so just tell me what that is for you. What exactly do you do as a realtor?
That's the $64,000 question.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give you a little bit of insight into how I ended up here, because with my background, it seems weird.
Yeah.
When I was in about maybe grade 5 or 6, there was an assignment in social studies called creating a beauty spot. And it was your typical, maybe it wasn't social studies, could have been home ec. I don't know. They still had weird home ec in those days. But anyway, you were supposed to clear out a little spot and clean it and then put everything back in an aesthetically pleasing way, which really suited my ADHD autistic tendencies. And I was hooked on making things pretty. And as I became an adult and had my own home, that followed me. I love houses. I love decorating. I actually remember as a kid building houses out of Lego, and like they had staircases and windows that opened, doors that opened, and I'd lay on the floor and peer through the little windows at my little houses. And so I've always been fascinated with systems of a house as well as the aesthetic. I do have a certification as a home stager as well. And I've run a business as a home stager, which was immensely fun, but also incredibly difficult. But ultimately, I think that I always wanted to sell real estate. And as a single mom through the 90s and the early 2000s, I was never in a position to take that leap from having a steady paycheck to paying to go to work every day. And so when my husband and I sold our business in 2017, we were finally ready and had the resources to make that leap. And here I am. It's been an amazing journey.
So, who are your clients? Who do you love to serve? Who's the client that is going to come to you and say, "Oh, that is my realtor"?
I'll be honest, I really love first-time home buyers.
So exciting.
It's so exciting. They're so excited. They're always so incredibly grateful. It just generally tends to be the most rewarding experience. But there are really a couple of reasons why I really love first-time home buyers. For me, because the way we practice, the way my husband and I practice in business is we train, we educate, we inform. And so I always see working with a first-time home buyer as this opportunity to make sure that they know what they should expect from us
Mm.
as professionals. It's like being that person's first boss. You have this incredible opportunity to teach them how to be. And it's the same, really, with a first-time home buyer. I like to make sure that they know that we as realtors have a fiduciary duty to them, that we are acting as their agent, similar to another agent, like a lawyer or an accountant in some cases. I like them to know that the service should be exemplary. They should be guided. The process should be stress-free. It should be exciting and fun, not scary and stressful. And I really love guiding those people into their first home and seeing them enjoy it. Yeah, I have two clients very recently, both first home, just had their little babies.
Oh.
One of them was even born 4 weeks early, right before closing, and completely unexpectedly. And I was frantically calling my client, going, why is she not answering? And finally, 2 days before closing, she calls me and she said, I've been in the hospital having a premature baby. And, just
Yeah.
it's just so heartwarming to guide
Yeah.
those folks into their first home. Yeah,
Especially these days where so many people, they're not even sure they'll ever
yeah,
get to own a home.
yeah,
They're thinking, oh, probably not, but I'll ask. And
yeah,
then to be able to help them fulfill that dream.
yeah.
So cool. Okay.
I was noticing that your question talked about also your niche. And I'd love to talk about that a little bit because it's super relevant to us being entrepreneurs, being women in business. I would say the niche that Keith and I really focus on is self-employed buyers. Self-employed home
Ooh,
buyers have
interesting.
a
Yes.
whole different obstacle course to run.
Yeah.
When you're employed and you go to get a mortgage, you send them two pay stubs and
Yeah.
maybe a letter of employment confirming your wage.
Yeah.
But it's simple. It's just so incredibly simple. Whereas with self-employed folks, we're sending our T1s, we're sending our financial information. If we're self-employed and we own a corporation, we have to prove that the corporation makes money as well as us. There can be 60 or 70 documents that a lender requires for a self-employed person.
Oh.
And the preparation that goes into not even just the paperwork, but the preparation for the years before you're ready to buy is important too. And those folks are the ones that really they need us the most. And given the fact that we had a financial background or have a financial background, and we've We've been a self-employed buyer many times. We made the decision early on in our real estate career to really focus on those people because they need extra help. A lot of people think, oh, my business is making 250 grand a year. I'm doing really good and everything's wonderful, and I'm going to go buy a house. And then the bank sees all the things that they've written off for the last 2 or 3 years. And the bank's, no, you didn't make any money.
Mhm.
And so sometimes that preparation period can be 2 or 3 years out. And they need to be carefully deciding what expenses to write off, carefully looking at how they pay themselves, making sure that there's good record keeping in place, making sure that everything is up to date. They've got their GST paid, they've got their PST paid, they've got their taxes filed, that they've done the things that they need to do to be ready to face the lender and buy a
Right.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would say from a niche perspective, that's where we focus on. And that is tremendously rewarding as well, particularly as a self-employed person, being able to help those of us who are out there doing the same kind of stuff,
Hmm.
taking that risk of working for ourselves.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
so rewarding as well.
Yeah. And as people are moving a lot more towards entrepreneurism rather
Mhm.
than working for somebody else, it's really important because I always thought maybe you just only you have to save up and just pay cash for stuff because I thought, how would you get? Because I know getting the mortgage when we were working for other people, then you have to have the pay stubs. And I thought, how would you with a
Yeah.
business? Honestly, I would just, in the last time we did, just leave me out of it because I don't even know how, and I don't even want to say, just leave me out of it so that none of what I make even it doesn't matter. We just it
Yeah,
doesn't count because I don't even know if it can count.
it does. It does count.
It
Absolutely
should
count.
could, hey, but
Yeah. And you've raised such a great point there because that's part of this whole thing of helping entrepreneurs. In our SAF or brokerage meeting this morning, somebody said, you don't know what you don't know. And I think you said that in one of your blog posts recently too. And it's true. But there's there's a flip side to that where one partner is employed and the other is self-employed. And that is that sometimes it can be detrimental to have one partner or the other in the deal. Sometimes, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, sometimes it can be useful to only use one partner,
Mhm.
because then the other partner can buy the next house and be a first-time home buyer again, right?
Oh yeah, just
Stuff like that. But really, as a realtor, we need to gather so much information and analyze it as to the best way to go forward for
Mhm.
our clients.
Was there anything that was pivotal that made a big difference in your decisions?
I don't think that there was anything pivotal in my real estate career. I would say that there were pivotal experiences with different brokerages, with different brokers
Mhm.
that taught us both a lot about how we wanted to do business or how we didn't want to do business, as the case was in a few instances. I would say pivotal moments in this career. I guess what I want to say is the pivotal moments came before I was in real
Right.
estate.
Okay.
Um, Knowing that I wanted to work for myself,
Right.
knowing that I never wanted to go back to the pink fabric walls of a cubicle, and being confident. There's an incredible sense of power and confidence that comes from paying off that loan that you borrowed money to buy your office furniture. And 5 years later, you're clicking pay on the last payment.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You made something. Your work made something.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think the pivotal moments really have come before I
Prior to.
decided to be a realtor.
Yeah. It's
Um,
the pivotal moment that steers you in the direction of where you are. What strategies have you employed to grow your business?
Interestingly, we have just made a move that was strategic in the growth of our business. We actually just joined Real Brokerage last week. Yeah, I
Oh
think it was
wow, very
around the 6th or 7th of January. And that was a very strategic move. We had belonged to eXp Realty prior, which is also a cloud-based firm. And we talked about joining eXp probably for 2 years before we did it. And we missed a pivotal moment in the growth of that business.
Mm.
And Real Broker is at that pivotal moment now.
And what advice, if there's somebody, a woman watching, and she is thinking about becoming a realtor, what advice would you give her to start her business?
Oh my gosh. That's a tough one because, I'm always, when faced with that question, and I get faced with it fairly often, is, oh, sweetheart, run.
Yeah.
This is not easy money.
It's not, it's a
This
very
is,
tough business.
and I had the absolute incredible chance to work with some incredibly intelligent, motivated, interesting, educated, fabulous people when I worked in government and in the private sector, honestly.
Mhm.
But this is a whole different ballgame. You you find yourself, I think, in self-employment, in entrepreneurism, as a person, not even just as a woman, but you find out who you are. And for me, going into real estate and going into entrepreneurism, I always thought to myself when I had a job for somebody else, God, I could be doing more. Should be doing more. Should I be learning more? Should I participate more?
Mhm.
And when you go into business for yourself, especially this business, you realize who you are. And if you find yourself at 11:30 at night going, oh, I can hardly get up from this chair because I'm just gonna do one more email. I'm just gonna do one more entry in my bookkeeping. That's it right there. You have to be driven.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't mean driven in the sense that you're mindlessly driven. You have to be strategically driven because real estate is overwhelming and demanding emotionally. You have to be lawyer, therapist,
Mhm.
HVAC guy. There's so many hats that you wear that you also have to know your limitations.
Mhm. Mhm.
Would I say don't do it? Never. Unless I was faced with somebody who clearly was not cut out for it, and I could see that. Because it's tremendously rewarding, and it's a chance to make a difference for people in people's lives, a real difference, a concrete difference, a measurable difference.
Mhm.
What I would say to a young woman starting out in this is don't take crap from anyone.
Mm.
And that, to put it in a nicer way, the lesson is people treat you the way you teach them to treat you.
Yeah.
And if somebody
It's a
treats
good
you
lesson.
badly, you need to deal with it the very first time it happens.
Mhm.
If you deal with it that one time, it'll probably never happen again,
Mhm.
or it might happen once or twice again. But generally, if you nip it in the bud, it'll go away.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of egos in this business. I have been told how many years that somebody's been in real estate 1,000 times.
Oh, so I want to take a shift now, and I want to talk about the networking group, our networking group.
Yeah.
So you're a chapter leader in Nanaimo for the BC Women's Business Network. And I'm just wondering what drew you to that?
When we moved to Nanaimo, I knew that I was going to have to hit the ground running very quickly. And I felt that networking was probably the best way to do that. Organized networking was probably the best way to do that. I particularly am drawn to women's business networking because women's issues, and particularly women's in businesses issues, are things that are near and dear to my heart. Women face different challenges in business.
Mhm.
Um, we have the added burdens often of being the primary caregiver for children, sometimes husbands, depending on what kind of husband you got.
Mm.
We have a different role in the world. And so when we got here, I reached out to a number of networking organizations just to get my foot in the door. And actually, when I found BC Women's Business Network, I was very excited because There's a structure to women's business networking that exists out there where it's a dinner meeting and it costs 50 or $60 and it's always this way. And I'm not denigrating those types of organizations at all because I am treasurer and membership director for one of them, which I absolutely adore my board. They're wonderful women and I love working with them.
Mhm.
But other women in business out there have different schedules and different needs. And maybe they don't want to go to a dinner. Maybe they can't afford to go to a dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work for their schedule. Maybe they work in the evenings. Maybe that's their productive time of day when they like to do their stuff. And BC Women's Business Network, because it's more open and more flexible, was a really exciting opportunity for me. And I think it's really incredible that Charlene Yasko and I both reached out to you at the same time because
Yeah.
I adore working with Charlene. She has been the best co-host, and she is such a brilliant, energetic, incredible young woman. I'm thrilled to be working with her. But yeah, so here in Nanaimo, our chapter is an afternoon meeting, 3:30. We have coffee at a wonderful woman-led business here in town called the Bee's Knees. Shireen, who runs it, owns it, is an incredible cook. Her food is outstanding. My husband is a food snob and he loves Shireen's restaurant because it's always good and it's always hot. So we love going there. She makes her own teas. She always has incredible baking on. Yeah, it's fantastic. The meetings generally are about 2 hours. And honestly, we have to shoo ladies out at the end of the night because
It's the
the
truth.
connection and the chats and the fun and the laughter are always there. And it's the most empowering and invigorating experience to be a part of that group. It's not a huge group, and that's fine because we have wonderful relationships, wonderful friendships amongst us now. And
Mhm.
I think it's just marvelous. My
Mhm.
favorite thing is when I get to refer another woman's business to
Mhm.
someone, when I can say, I know someone who can do for you. It's what makes me tick. It's just marvelous.
Yeah, I have to say with our group, we've been so incredibly blessed with the women who have come forward to be chapter leaders. And it's one of those things where when I'm talking to somebody, it's I go a lot by intuition. When you know somebody and you can hear their heart through what they're saying and their desire is more outward. It's more about bringing value to other people
Yeah.
than about saying, "Oh, great," because then I'm going to get so many sales out of this because I'm the leader.
Mm.
Everyone will buy from me. And it's never like with none of the chapter leaders, it's not like that. They all probably to some extent you're spending so much time drawing everybody else out and what they're doing and everything else that you probably neglect your own business to an extent.
To some
But
degree, yes.
yeah,
I try
um,
not to, doesn't always work.
I know, but I do the same thing because I often afterwards go, shoot, I didn't even talk about my business.
I know.
Which just hilarious. But the fact that the group is it's we're all about building relationships. So when women are coming and it's you have that anxiety of what's the expectation when I get here or what do I have to say? And just the fact that as facilitators, really what you're doing is you're watching for those people coming in the door with the deer in the headlight look and
Exactly.
immediately drawing them in and making them feel at ease. And so many people, and when I talk to them and they were like, I was so nervous to come, but by the end of it, I can't wait for next month.
Yeah,
And so thank you very much for being a chapter leader in Nanaimo. I know that your group is amazing.
it's been amazing. It's been
You're doing
incredible.
such a great job there. And I love that you're meeting at a woman-led business too.
Yeah.
I love when we can do that or if we can support women-led businesses in any way. I love that we can do that as well. So what is it? What is it about networking that is the most important to you?
It's interesting because a lot of people come into networking with the idea that you're there to sell something.
Mhm.
And that is absolutely the wrong expectation to have coming into that. And I can remember a million years ago when I first started going to networking meetings out in Chilliwack
Mhm.
Women's Business Network, feeling really quite driven to sell my business. And feeling after every meeting like, gosh, did I do enough? Did I make it clear what I am and what I want? And it was quite funny because we did end up with some wonderful clients from that group, people that I'm still friends with today.
Mhm.
But what I have come into or realized over the last 2 years is that networking is not about selling stuff. It's not about selling your business at all. It's about building a community and how incredibly important that community is, especially for women. I recently met a woman who um, she's an agricultural lender. She's the sister of our president at Oceanside Women's Business Network. And she spoke so eloquently about the importance of networking as women, for women.
Mhm.
Because when she entered the business 40 years ago as a 20 something girl going into banking, into agricultural lending, she was completely the outlier. Her
Mhm.
manager told her straight up, don't even bother asking these men if they want to borrow money because they're not borrowing money from a girl. And what she very quickly discovered is that on farms, often it's the wife that makes those financial decisions. And she built a network of farmers' wives, and they would meet in backyards and barns and patios, and they would talk about farming from a woman's perspective. They would talk about how to run that business because most of those women were running the business part of farming
Mhm.
while the husband was doing the actual work out on the fields.
Yeah.
And she said that that network of women is what grew her business, which made her business incredibly successful over the years. And she spoke so poignantly about it that it really brought it home for me that this isn't about selling something at all. This is about that network of women that we don't have in our society anymore, where you can run to the other gal's house and be like, she got a cup of tea on. I just
Yeah.
got back for a minute.
Yeah.
Can you watch my kid for an hour while I go do this thing? That's the network we need. That's that support, that understanding of what we face as women in business,
Mhm.
that emotional support that men either culturally don't want or maybe individually don't need. We need that. We women, we're a herd animal. You know?
Yes.
We need each other.
I often say when I'm talking to people and they ask me, what is your group? Like, what is it like? And I said, it's more like going out for dinner with a bunch of friends than a networking group.
Yeah.
Yes, we
And
talk
that's
about
what
our
it should be.
business, but we are really building beautiful friendships.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the most interesting things about growing as a person in business and feeling confident and safe in business is the realization that you might not be right for somebody. You
Yes.
might not be the right person to serve them.
Mhm.
And being okay with that
Mhm.
and wanting service for them that's so good that you're willing to say, I'm not the right person.
Mhm.
And I'm very upfront with clients about that. If we ever come to a point in our relationship where you're not happy,
Mhm.
please tell me.
Mhm.
I promise that I will talk to you, that I'll
Mhm.
hear you, that I'll listen. And if we come to the decision after that conversation that I'm still not the right person for you, I will find you the right person
Yeah.
because I am so committed to you having a good experience
Yeah.
that I don't care if it's with me as long as you have a good experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know that saying, I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm definitely somebody's shot of tequila. You
Yeah.
know, that's so true.
Yeah.
If somebody
Yeah.
isn't looking for tea, then
Yes.
you're not going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I
mm,
love that. And that's the thing. If we come at it with a perspective of serving rather than taking,
Yes.
then everybody comes out of that happy then, I think, because that it can be reciprocated too by that person who is the cup of tea. They're
Mhm.
not that shot of tequila for the person that they might have. So then they're going to say, okay, I know a shot of tequila for you. This has been great. I've really thoroughly enjoyed our
Me
conversation.
too.
And I want to thank you so much for joining me. And I will make sure that I add all of your socials and everything in the podcast info. But yeah, thanks so much for this. And is there anything else you wanted to say before we say goodbye?
Just thanks for the work that you do. I know you manage all the less pretty things so that us girls can go out there and just shine, and we're grateful for it, all of us. I
Good.
know I've heard that from other chapter leaders, and it's been expressed to me from the folks who do attend our chapter meetings as well. They're grateful that there's you in the background helping us make the event successful every time. So thanks so much, Gwilda.
No worries. Thank you. Okay, we'll say goodbye then, and
Awesome.
we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us, and check the notes for information about our guest. I invite you to join us at the BC Women's Business Network to meet many more amazing women. Hit the subscribe button and join us again next time on Elevating Women in Business.